to tackle our biggest challenges. And there is a leader who knows a lot about the importance of community colleges, and that is Dr. Jill Biden. Dr. Biden, or as her students like to call her, Dr. B, has spent her entire career in the classroom, teaching high school and then community college students. She continued teaching even as she became Second Lady and then First Lady of the United States. And today she teaches English at the Alexandria, Virginia campus of Northern Virginia Community College, just outside Washington, D.C. When we were thinking about who we would dream of having at this CGIU, we could think of no one better to talk about the role community colleges play in equipping students from all walks of life with the skills and opportunities they need. So I'm going to start by asking Dr. Biden, you've been a community college professor for almost 30 years now.
More, probably.
Even more. And you said that when you moved from teaching at a high school to Deltech, something clicked for you. And you've continued teaching the whole time that your husband, President Biden, has been in public service. So what is it about this job, Dr. Biden, that is so special to you?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to join you today, Hillary. And you and Bill and Chelsea are doing such great work here at CGI. But I was especially excited to learn that this year you were partnering with an organization that I really worked with for so many years, the American Association of Community Colleges. And I used to call community colleges America's best kept secret. But with organizations like yours and AACU shining a light on all the incredible ways they serve students, the secret is now out. But to your question, I had been teaching high school English, I guess for, maybe 13 years. And one of my colleagues left to go teach at a community college and called me up and said, Jill, this is the best thing ever. You've got to come teach at community college. So I waited until there was a job opening, and then I applied and got the job. And then I have to tell you, Hillary, I went and Deltech, where I started, was different than anything I had done before because it was the first time that I had taught adults. So many of my students, as you well know, were working. Some had children. Some were taking care of their parents. So when we talked about literature, they had, so many life experiences. They talked about their travel, their jobs, their families. And, my life was a little different than theirs, but I saw so much of myself in them in that I really connected with my students because here I was teaching full-time. I had 3 children, and I was going to grad school. So I knew what some of these struggles were and how hard it was to try and sort of juggle it all. And I think that's what makes community colleges so unique. They serve students from every walk of life, and they meet students where they are. And I have students, and this is one of the really great things about teaching at the community college, especially here in Northern Virginia, is that the diversity, and the different cultures. I have students this semester from all over the globe, like Ukraine and Honduras and Ethiopia. And, I think I learn more from them than they probably learn from me because they write about their lives and their stories, and they just add so much more richness to the classroom. So, but when I started teaching at the community college, I realized that a lot of my students, especially women who were returning back to school, didn't have a lot of the support I had. And so I thought, geez, we have to have a women's mentoring group on campus. And I found that many of the women who came back maybe didn't have some of the skills in technology. So many of them had math anxiety, and they were, just trying to juggle it all. So when I mentored these students, I felt like I was really making a difference. And Hillary, I don't know whether you know this, but some of these, I especially taught this one woman who left her husband. She was abused. She was living in her car with her children. She got into a shelter. They saw how smart she was. They got her into the community college, and it changed her whole life. So I mentored her, and I helped her write an essay, and then she got into a 4-year college, and now she's an accountant, and she has this great life. And there's so many stories like that. I mean, there's just hundreds of them out there. They're just a place for people to get a second chance, or to advance the skills that they already have, or change careers. I mean, they really do so much. And I just can't say enough about them, as you probably can tell. So anyway, that's why I love teaching at community college.
And I love hearing you talk about it, Jill. It really, it warms my heart so much, because it just is conveyed so clearly. And at the end, when you said it's really a second chance for so many people, and how they need a little bit of help and a little bit of support to be able to find themselves. I just love hearing you talk about it. And your experience, I think, goes right to the heart of why we are partnering with the community colleges in our country.
Well, like you said, we all need a little help sometimes. And you've seen that for yourself. I mean, you put 18 million cracks in the ultimate glass ceiling, but that comes with a lot of uncertainty and questions. So, Hillary, did you have mentors, and what were some of the lessons that you learned from your mentors?
Oh, I did. And honestly, I don't know how anybody gets through life, let alone education, without having people that can guide them, offer constructive criticism. One of my great mentors was one of my first bosses when I went to work for Marian Wright Edelman at the Children's Defense Fund. And, she really not only showed me the good that lawyers can do in trying to defend people, particularly children who often need some extra help to protect them against all kinds of challenges, but also how to do it as a wife and mother. Someone who was, as you said, raising children while working, while trying to make a difference. And I can go all the way back to my 6th grade teacher, someone, Mrs. King, who was so encouraging to me. And it's those memories of people who, they did their job. I mean, obviously, that's part of it. But more than that, they took an interest in the people they taught or that they worked with, and they went the extra bit to try to find out what could help that individual. And I think that kind of mentoring is so important, and it's important at all stages of our life. But, for me, obviously, I know that your education is never finished. I'm always learning new things. And in the world today, we have to keep learning or we'll fall behind. And as you rightly pointed out, some of the people that you were teaching needed some additional help with technology. And a lot of the jobs our economy needs most, and I'm going to put in a shameless plug and say what a great job your husband's administration is doing on employment and I'm so proud of that. But some of the jobs that we're going to need haven't even been invented. And some of the jobs people are doing now weren't around 15 or 20 years ago. So as someone who's been involved with community colleges, how do we keep giving students the education so that they can get the skills they need as the workforce changes? And really, there's no better institution in our economy to do that than community colleges.
Well, I agree with you. And I think one of the things, community colleges really have a major role to play in that. And I've traveled to so many community colleges and seen so many different programs, whether they're in clean energy or technology. And I was just at Intel, and actually the president of Intel went to a community college, and we connected right away. And here's his company. They're making computer chips, and he's hiring community college students. And, really, it's all about jobs. And so most of my students know that they will have jobs when they get out, because there's all these partnerships, and especially in the healthcare field. I mean, communities desperately need nurses and EMTs, especially during this pandemic, radiologists, ultrasound technicians. And so they all know that they will have jobs when they graduate. And that's what community colleges do best. And so there's so many different programs out there, and to help communities all across the country, no matter what field it's in. And I think go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've often thought that community colleges could be one of our best exports because it makes such a difference in our education system.
No, I agree with that. And, I traveled to several Latin and Southern American countries, and a lot of them are starting community colleges because a lot of their communities have some of the same needs that we have. And I love, I love how Joe just gets all this and is putting so much money into workforce development. I have to give him my own plug, but he hears it every night at the dinner table when I tell him what's going on and the kind of programs that we have. So anyway, but it's clearly something that you understand as well. And I was so excited to know that CGIU is partnering with community colleges this year and is working further to diversify its global community of student and alumni leaders. So I would love to know what excites you the most about the student leaders coming out of colleges throughout the world.
Oh, it's so wonderful to look back on the CGIUs that we've held. We used to, of course, hold them in person, which was really thrilling to actually meet students from all over the world. And then because of the pandemic, we had to move to virtual, but we've kept it going. And I have to say several things really stand out. I mean, it's a self-selected group. People hear about CGIU, or maybe somebody recommends that they look at it. And so they say, hey, I'd like to do that because I have an idea, or I want to meet people from everywhere across the globe. And so the students come often with some specific ideas. I mean, we always have some competitions around ideas for new businesses or new job creation. We have a coding contest that we give students a problem, and how do they come up with some kind of technical way to address that problem. So I've just been so impressed at the level of curiosity and passion and interest and determination. It's really been wonderful to see them. And part of why we wanted to focus on community colleges this year is because, as you said earlier, a lot of people are going back to school. People,
yes,
or they're coming into community colleges after taking time off, or having a different set of experiences in the work world or in their personal life. And we've got so many students who are hungry for an education, and frankly for the kind of mentoring that you were talking about.
yes.
So when I see our student body for CGIU, I'm so encouraged, and I know that our world will be in good hands if they get a chance to make their contributions. And we have hundreds and hundreds of students watching us in this conversation. And I want to underscore something you said, because I know some of them really related to the fact that, they face challenges, whether it's finding childcare or supporting their parents while they're going to school, or working a job full time while they're also trying to get an education, but they have to pay the bills. And those challenges got so much more complex during COVID. And so the theme for this CGIU meeting is about building resilience. And, that's something that I think all of us have to learn in life over and over again, not just once. And you've been such a role model in so many ways for so many people. And for the students who are watching, do you have any advice or any message for students today coming out of a pandemic, coming into a lot of uncertainty, trying to make sense of all of it, about how they personally can find the resilience to keep themselves going despite whatever setbacks they face?
Well, this has been, such a tough year. And my students honestly just inspire me every day. They've had to deal with things that really no other generation has had to deal with. And our world has just changed in so many ways that, heck, we don't really fully understand yet. But what we do know is, that you've made it this far, and that says, that's what I say to my students. You have such strength and grit. And I hope that, that you're proud of what you've accomplished, because I feel so proud of them. And there was a poet who once said, what matters most in life is how well you walk through the fire. So my message to the students is, sooner or later, we will all have to walk through the fire. And some of us will stumble and fall, and maybe we'll feel alone. But we're never alone. And sometimes people can't see that pain that hides behind your smile. But if we give them the chance, they can help us shoulder the weight of our lives. And I think that, we give our hearts in little ways, like the words we use, the conscious decisions we make to be present, the small acts of kindness. And sometimes I think the most courageous thing we can learn to do is lean on our communities. And I think that's what we give to each other. It's our vulnerability, our brokenness, and the chance to be someone else's strength in return. And I think that that's what community colleges are. They help students find their confidence and build their skills and feel like they're part of this big family that supports them, and they know that they can go out into the world and get great jobs and then in turn build better communities. So, I'll be back there in the classroom tomorrow and, helping them move forward. And like I said, Hillary, I can't say enough good things about the power of community colleges. So thanks for having me today.
Oh, thank you so very much. Honestly, That was such an incredible answer, and your students are so lucky to have you in the classroom. And I just think every student watching that answer is going to take something away because they are going to feel that they have the strength and ability to continue to pursue their own dreams. And I just can't thank you enough for joining us and sharing your experience and sharing your heart with all of the CGI students. You really are making a difference, and I'm thrilled that more people are going to be able to see and hear what you say and take that to their own hearts. So you make me more hopeful about our future.
Yeah, I hope so. They make me hopeful. My students make me hopeful. So thank you, Hillary, for focusing on community colleges. It'll make a real difference. Thank you.
Thank you for everything you're doing. Our hearts and energy go with you, my friend.
Thanks. You too.
Take care. Bye-bye.
You too.
Hello everyone, my name is Anna Ramshan and I'm studying at the University of Sydney in New South Wales, Australia. I'm doing a Master of Education in Educational Leadership and Management, and I'm also a primary school teacher and an educational consultant. My commitment to action is to raise awareness in Australian pre-service teachers about the practical wisdom